Welcome to my channel, Crochet for Baby. Thanks for watching. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet this little jacket, coat, or cardigan sweater for boys and girls between 1 and 2 years old. It's very easy to make, so I hope you like it. Now, you can also make it smaller or bigger. I'd say from 9 to 12 months up to 10 years old. Down here in the information box, I'm going to leave some information on how you can make it smaller or bigger, so be sure to check that out. Also, if you prefer a written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link to my Etsy shop in the information box as well. Now, at the end of the tutorial, I leave you the finished measurements, and remember, all of my tutorials are always in English and in Spanish. Okay, let's get started, but first, don't forget to subscribe, share my tutorials, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Okay, to make this little sweater, I'll be using this 4.5mm crochet hook, and today I'm using this number 4 yarn. This is the yarn that I'm using. It's by Lion brand, Heartland. Now, this here is in the color 350 Mount Rainier. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Now, you can also use any aran weight yarn. To begin, I have 49 chains. This chain here is measuring approximately 31 centimeters, which is about 12.25 inches. If your chain is off by 1 or 2 centimeters, it's okay. Just continue with the next step. So here, to begin, on the 4th chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to make a double crochet. Including the 3 chains, I have 2 double crochets. In total, I'm going to make 7. So into the next chain, make another double crochet. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now this here is going to be one of the front panels, and I have 7 double crochets including the 3 chains. Now into the next chain, make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now before you continue, put a stitch marker on top of the second double crochet. Out of these 3 that we did, just put a stitch marker there into that second double crochet. Now for the arms, I'm going to make another 7 double crochet. So into the next 7 chains, make 1 double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 double crochets. Now into the next chain, make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. And before you continue into the second double crochet here, put another stitch marker. Now we're going to make the back side. For the back side, I'm going to make a total of 15 double crochets. So into the next 15 chains, make 1 double crochet on each one. Continue and finish making these 15 double crochets, and I'll meet you back. I finished making these 15 double crochets. Now into the next chain, I'm going to make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Again, add a stitch marker on top of the second double crochet. And here we're going to make the other sleeve. So we're going to make a total of 7 double crochets. So continue, make these 7 double crochets, and I will meet you back. I finished making these 7 double crochets. Now into the next chain, make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now on top of this second double crochet, add a stitch marker. And here we're going to finish this first row by making these last 7 double crochets, which is for the other front panel. So finish this first row and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, I'm here at the end of this first row. I finished making these last 7 double crochets. Now for this first row, you should have a total of 55 double crochets. So let me show you again what we did. We have 7 double crochets here, including the 3 chains. Then we did 3 double crochets. then we did 7 double crochets, then 3 double crochets, and then for the back side we have 15 double crochets, then we did 3 double crochets, and then we have 7 double crochets, 3 double crochets, and we finish with 7 double crochets. So we have the front panels, the sleeves, the back, and here's what it looks like. Now, like I said, you should have 55 double crochets. Now for the second row, we're going to chain 1 and turn. In this row, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 1 single crochet, and I'm going to make these single crochets always in the back loop of the double crochet. So the double crochet has 2 loops, the front loop and the back. I'm always going to go through the back loop to make these single crochets, and I'm going to do them until I come to this double crochet here before the stitch marker. So let me show you. Starting on top of the first double crochet through the back loop, make a single crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 single crochets. I'm going to remove this stitch marker, and into this stitch you're going to go through both loop and make 3 single crochets. Now before you continue, make sure you put back your stitch marker into the second single crochet here, which is the center stitch. We're always going to do this for each corner. Now I'm going to continue here and make these next single crochets. So beginning onto the next double crochet through the back loop, make a single crochet. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 single crochets. Remove this next stitch marker, and into this double crochet, which is the center one, make 3 single crochets. Now put back your stitch marker into the second single crochet, which is the center stitch. And now we're going to continue for the back side and make these next single crochets. So beginning into the next, make a single crochet into the next, and so on until you come to the next stitch marker, where you're going to do the exact same thing I just did here into these 2 corners. You're going to do 3 single crochets. Don't forget to put back your stitch marker marking the center single crochet, and then continue and finish the rest. I will meet you at the end of this second row. I'm here at the end of this second row. I have a total of 63 single crochets. Here at the end, I finished this row by making my last single crochet into the third chain here at the end. So make sure that you have a total of 63 single crochets. Now for the third row, we're going to chain 2 and turn. These 2 chains from here on never count as a stitch. They're there so that when we finish the yoke, this part here is nice and straight. Also from here on, we're always going to repeat the row of single crochets and the row of double crochets. So for the third row, I need to make the row of double crochets. So beginning on top of this last single crochet that I did, going through the back loop only, make a double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and into this next single crochet, which is the center stitch where we have the stitch marker. Remove this stitch marker, and into this stitch here, going through both loops, make 3 double crochets. Now put back your stitch marker into the second double crochet here, which is the center stitch, and continue along and make these next double crochet. So into the next single crochet, make a double crochet until we come to the next stitch marker, or the next corner. So on each corner, you're going to always do the same thing, whether you're making the row single crochets or the row of double crochets. So here's my last double crochet. I have my stitch marker here into the next stitch, remove this, and into this stitch here make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now put back your stitch marker into the center stitch here, the second double crochet, and then continue along making these double crochets until you come to the next corner where you're going to do the exact same thing I just showed you here. So continue and finish this third row, and I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this third row. This is where we did double crochets, and I have a total of 71 double crochets. From here on, for each row, whether it be the row of double crochets or the row of single crochets, we are always going to increase 8 stitches. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Now for the fourth row, we need to do the row of single crochets. So you're going to chain 1 and turn. Now beginning on top of the first double crochet through the back loop only, make your first single crochet, into the next another one, and so on. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 single crochets. Now remove this stitch marker, and into this center stitch where we had the stitch marker, make 3 single crochets. Now before you continue, don't forget to add your stitch marker back into the second single crochet here, which is the center stitch, and then you're going to continue along and work these next single crochets. Make sure that you always go through the back loop, and on each corner you're going to do the same thing, 3 single crochets on each corner. Continue, finish this fourth row of single crochets. At the end of this fourth row, you're going to have 79 single crochets. I'll meet you at the end to once again show you the next row, which is the row of double crochets. I'm here at the end of this fourth row. This is where we did single crochets, and I have a total of 79 single crochets. Now, like I said, from here on, we're always going to repeat these 2 rows, the row of double crochets and the row of single crochets. And at every corner, there's 4, you're always going to either make 3 double crochets or 3 single crochets on each corner, and you're always going to increase 8 stitches at the end of every row. So now here for the 5th row, we're going to chain 2 since we need to make the row of double crochets. So turn now. The 2 chains, remember, never count as a stitch. Now here I'm going to make 1 double crochet beginning on top of the last single crochet through the back loop until I come to the first stitch marker. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 double crochets. We have the first stitch marker, remove the stitch marker, and into this center stitch here, make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Don't forget to put back your stitch marker into the center stitch, which is the second double crochet, and then continue along and work these next double crochets until you come to the next stitch marker where you're going to do exactly the same thing that I just showed you here. You're just going to continue in the exact same way. At the end of this 5th row, you're going to have 87 double crochets. After you finish this row, you're going to chain 1 and then start the row of single crochets, and at the end of that row you're going to have 8 stitches more than the previous row. So continue. I'm not sure how many rows I'm going to do for my yoke, but continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do, so I will meet you at the end of that row. Okay, I finished making the yoke. I did a total of 11 rows. My last row here is the row of double crochets, and at the end of this 11th row I have a total of 135 double crochets. Now in the next row we're going to divide the sleeves, so let me tell you how many stitches I have for each one of the sides. So for the front panels I have 18 and 18. Then I have 1 stitch on each corner. For the sleeves, I have 29 and 29. Then I have a stitch on each corner. And then for the back side, I have 37. So we have 18, 18, 29, 29, and then 37 for the back side. And then the 4 stitches here in each corner. So that's a total of 135 double crochets. Now let me give you the measurements. Right across, right here, this part here, it's measuring about 13.5 centimeters, which is about 5.25 inches. And right here, the chest area, it's measuring about 23.5 centimeters, which is about 9.25 inches, just the top. So now what we're going to do next is we're going to divide the sleeves. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to start counting rows. So for the first row, we're going to chain 1 and turn. On top of this first double crochet, make a single crochet and continue making single crochets through the back loop until you come to the first stitch marker. So continue, and I'll meet you right about here to show you how to divide the first sleeve. Okay, I finished making these single crochets for the front panel. Now into this last single crochet where I have the stitch marker, you're going to make 3 single crochets. Now to divide the sleeve, we're going to chain 4. Skip these 29 double crochets, and into the stitch where I have the stitch marker right here, make 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now continue here for the back side, making 1 single crochet through the back loop of each one of the double crochets here for the back side. So continue, and I will meet you right about here to show you how we're going to divide the second sleeve. Okay, I finished making these single crochets for the back side. Now into this last stitch where I have the stitch marker, make 3 single crochets. Now, if we count each one of these single crochets for the back side, including these 3 single crochet that we did at the beginning and here at the end, you should have a total of 43 single crochets for the back side. Now, to divide the second sleeve, chain 4, skip these 29 double crochets, and into this stitch where I have the stitch marker, make 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now continue and finish this first row by making single crochets through the back loop only. I will meet you at the end of this first row. Okay, I finished making this first row. This is where we divided the sleeves. Now I have a total of 21 single crochets for each one of the front panels, and I have 43 single crochets for the back panel. So that's a total of 85 single crochets. Now what we're going to do into the next row, row 2, is the row where we do double crochets. So chain 2, turn. The 2 chains never count as a stitch. Beginning on top of the first single crochet, make a double crochet. Then through the back loop of each one of the single crochets, make a double crochet until you come to the last single crochet. I will meet you right here to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making these 21 double crochets for this second row. This is the front panel, and I'm right here, right under the sleeve where I have these 4 chains. Now into each one of these 4 chains, you're going to make 2 double crochets. So 2 double crochets into the first chain, 2 double crochets into the second chain, two double crochets into the third chain, and 2 double crochets into the fourth chain. and that's what it should look like. Now we have 8 double crochets here under the sleeve, and here we're just going to now continue for the back side and work 1 double crochet through the back loop of each one of these single crochets until you come to the next sleeve right here. Here into these 4 chains, you're going to do the same thing that we just did. You're going to do 2 double crochets for each chain so that we have a total of 8 double crochets as well, and then continue and finish these last 21 double crochets. I will meet you at the end of this second row. Okay, I'm here at the end of this second row. I have a total of 101 double crochets. Now from here on, we're going to continue with this same number of stitches, and we're going to continue and repeat these 2 rows, the row of single crochets and the row of double crochets. So for row 3, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a single crochet and a single crochet on each one of the double crochets. But remember, we always go through the back loop. We're going to continue with the same pattern, repeating these 2 rows, and depending on which row you're in, you're either going to finish with 101 single crochets or 101 double crochets, since we're just going to repeat the same row over and over, the single crochet row and the double crochet row. We're not going to increase or anything here. We're just going to continue and work the bottom of the little sweater, and when you finish here, you're going to chain 2, turn, and then repeat the row of double crochets. It's basically the same thing we did here for the yoke, where we do the 2 rows. Now, I'm not exactly sure how many rows I'm going to do, but continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do from here on, so I will meet you at the end of that row. Okay, I finished making this part. I did a total of 22 rows. From here where we divided the sleeves, we have 22 rows. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 rows. My last row is this one where I do the double crochets. If you want to make this longer, you can. As it is, it's measuring from the top of the neckline down to the end of this last row. It's measuring about 33 centimeters, which is about 13 inches. Again, if you want to make this part longer, you can. I'm just going to leave it like this because in the next, I don't know, maybe 2-3 rows, we're going to make the bottom of the sweater, and I'm going to make front post and back post half double crochets. You can also make single crochets. If you have a hard time making front post half double crochets and back post half double crochets, you can also do single crochets for a couple of rows. So here, to show you this part, we're going to chain 1 and turn. Now here, beginning on top of this first double crochet, make a half double crochet. Into the next double crochet, which is this second one here, work a front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet into the next, front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet. This is how I'm going to continue and alternate between a front post and a back post half double crochet. We're going to do this for, I don't know, maybe 3-4 rows, I'm not sure, but I'll let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do. So continue, finish this row, and I'll meet you at the end to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this 23rd row. Now here to finish, at the end on top of the last double crochet, make a half double crochet. And this is how I finished this row. Now we're going to do this for about 2 or 3 more rows. I'm not sure. Continue watching. I'll let you know exactly how many rows we're going to do. So all you're going to do to start each row is chain 1, turn, and beginning on top of this first half double crochet, make a half double crochet, and then you're going to do the same thing. This next stitch here is a back post half double crochet, so make a back post half double crochet. Next one is a front post half double crochet, next one back post half double crochet, and so on. You're going to do this until you finish this 24th row. Here at the end, you're going to finish by making one last half double crochet on top of the last one. Then to start the next row, you're going to chain 1, turn, and then do the same thing I did here. Now, like I said, I'm not sure how many rows I'm going to do, but continue watching. I'll let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do, so I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, I finished making the bottom part. Here I did a total of 3 rows, and at the end here I just did one last half double crochet, cut my yarn, and passed my yarn through this last loop, and this part here is done, and that's what it looks like. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make single crochets along the front panels on each side. On this side we're going to make the buttonhole, so we're going to start right here. Make sure that you're on the same side as I am. This is where we did our chain. So now we're going to go back here on this other side, insert your hook, and with the same yarn grab a loop, chain 1, and into this same stitch here make a single crochet, and then 1 single crochet for the next row here of half double crochets right here, 1 single crochet into the next row. That's 3, and then we have the row of double crochets. Make 2 single crochets here, skip the row of single crochet, and into the next row of double crochets make 2 single crochets again, 2 single crochets, skip the row of single crochet, and into the next row 2 single crochets. And that's all we're going to do into each one of the rows of double crochets. And remember, we're going to skip the row of single crochets. Continue to the top like this, and I'll meet you there to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the top. Now to finish here at the end, we have this row of chains. Make 1 last single crochet here. Now I have a total of 38 single crochets. Make sure that these single crochets that we did are nice and loose. Now we're going to do 2 more rows. So chain 1 and turn. We're going to work our way down and make single crochet. So beginning into this first single crochet, make a single crochet into the next, and so on. When you finish here at the bottom, you're going to chain 1, turn, and then repeat 1 more row. I'll meet you at the end of the 3rd row. Okay, I finished making these 3 rows. I'm here at the top. We're going to work single crochets along the neckline. One thing I forgot to mention is that if you're making this little sweater for little girls, then you need to add your buttonholes on this side. One thing you can do too is instead of making buttonholes, you can use the spaces in between the single crochets as buttonholes. As you can see, there's a big hole here which you can use as buttonholes. So your buttons are going to go on the other side and your buttonholes are going to be here. Now here we're going to continue along the neckline. So chain 1, and into this last single crochet that I did, make a single crochet into the next row of single crochets, another one, and another one here. So I have 3 single crochets since we have 3 rows. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make single crochets in between the double crochets like this. Now you can also make your single crochets here on top. This is where we had those remaining chains, so you can do it like this too. I'm going to do them in between the double crochet, so right in the middle like this. And I'm going to try to make these single crochets nice and loose so that the neckline here is not too small once this part here is done. So I'm just going to continue and finish, and I will meet you at the other end right here to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making these single crochets around the neckline. Now we're going to go down here on this side and we're going to make single crochets. On the other side we had 38 single crochets, so we're going to do the same number of single crochets here for this side. So chain 1 here, and into this last single crochet that I did, make a single crochet. Then we have the row of double crochets, make 2 single crochets there, 1 and 2, and then we have the next row of double crochets, make 2 single crochets into the next row of double crochets, same thing, 2 single crochets, and so on. Make sure that you're making your single crochets nice and loose, and then continue all the way down. I will meet you here at the end to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making these single crochets. Along this side I have 38 single crochets. Now in the next row, row 2, I'm going to make my buttonholes. Here I have placed my stitch markers here to mark where I'm going to make my buttonholes. If you're using smaller buttons, you don't need to make buttonholes because the spaces in between is big enough for buttons to go through. Maybe 9, 10, or 11 millimeter buttons. It should be okay. I've decided to add these buttons here. They're a bit big, so I do need to add buttonholes. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to add 5. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to make our first single crochet here into this last single crochet that I did. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have my first stitch marker, chain 1, whoops, skip this single crochet and into the next make a single crochet, and here's the first buttonhole. Now let me try it and see if these fit through here. Yes, perfect. So I'm only going to chain 1. If you're using bigger buttons, then you may need to chain 2 and then still just skip 1. Should be okay. So here we're going to continue. In between the buttonholes, I'm going to have 7 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chain 1, skip this single crochet and into the next make a single crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next another single crochet, and so on. You're just going to continue in the same way. I'm only going to do 5 buttonholes, but if you want to add more, then you're going to have to determine the spacing between the buttonholes. So continue, make 7 single crochets, chain 1, skip 1, make 7 single crochets, chain 1, skip this one, and make 1 last single crochet right here. I'll meet you at the end of this second row. I finished making this second row. This is where we added our buttonholes. Now here at the end, I did my last buttonhole and made a single crochet into the last single crochet here. Now chain 1, turn, and we're going to work our way down, making single crochets. Beginning on top of the first single crochet, make a single crochet into each one of the chain 1 spaces or your buttonholes. You're going to make a single crochet as well. Here we're going to finish with a total of 38 single crochets. So continue, finish this third row, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. Okay, I went ahead and finished this third row. For this side, here at the end, I just did my last single crochet, cut my yarn, passed my yarn through this last loop. On this side is where we added our buttonholes, and I also went ahead and added my buttons. Now, many of you ask, how do I attach my buttons? I like to tie mine in like this. See, all I do is just cut a little piece of yarn like this, pass it through, and then through the stitch, then I just tie a knot, and then I just hide my ends here on the inside. These here, I already went ahead and hid my ends, and as you can see, you can barely see where I've done that. So you can do the same thing. It's so much easier, and they're very secured in there, so you don't have to worry about them coming off. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to do the sleeves. I already went ahead and did this side. I'm going to show you how to do the sleeve, and we're going to do it exactly in the same way as I did this side. It's done exactly in the same way. Nothing is different. So we're going to go here to this side, and we're going to start with the row of single crochets. I'm going to continue with the same pattern, the single crochet row and the double crochet row. So we're going to turn this like this, because we're going to work this single crochet row from the inside out, and we're going to go right here, right under the sleeve. Right here, this is where we added these 4 chains, so we're going to divide 4 double crochets on this side and then 4 double crochets here on this side. Remember, here we did 2, 4, 6, 8 double crochets. We increased, so right in the middle, 4 on each side, insert your hook there, and with the same yarn and the same hook here, grab a loop, bring it through the front, chain 1, and into this same stitch here, make a single crochet. Now we have 29 double crochets here for the sleeve, so I need to do 8 more stitches. So between this first double crochet and the last, so right here in this section, I need to do 8 single crochets. So I already have 1. I'm going to skip these next 2, and I'm going to make my second single crochet, skip 2 again, and right in the middle make this third single crochet. Now this fourth single crochet, I can either do it here or here. I'm going to go right here. This is where we divided the sleeve, so just insert your hook into that same space and make your fourth single crochet. Now the important thing here is that you do 4 single crochets. It doesn't matter where you do yours, as long as you do 4 single crochets. Now we have the next 29 double crochets, so we're going to do 1 single crochet into each one of these 29 double crochets, and remember, we always go through the back loop so that we keep the same pattern. With the sleeves, since we're going to be working them in the round, you're going to have to turn for each row. And here I forgot to add a stitch marker. Make sure you put a stitch marker here into the chain that we did, not the first single crochet but the chain, and you'll find out why once I finish this row. So continue all around and make single crochets into each one of the double crochets, but remember to go through the back loop. So continue, and I'll meet you right about here to show you how we're going to finish this first row. Okay, I'm almost done with this first row. Up to here I have 33 single crochets. Remember, we have 29 single crochets for the sleeve, and then I did 4 single crochets here at the beginning. So that's a total of 33 single crochets. Now here to finish, I need to make 4 single crochets into this space here. Now it doesn't matter where you do yours. I'm going to do mine right here into this space. I'm going to do 1, and then into this next space, that's 2, and then I'm going to go right here and do 3, and then skip 2, and into the next space make my 4th single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now for this row I have 37 single crochets. Now remember, we put a stitch marker here at the beginning. Always when you do this row of single crochets, you are going to join to the chain, not the first single crochet, but to the chain with a slip stitch. That's why it's important for you to put a stitch marker where you have your chain. If we don't do that and I join to the first single crochet, at the end of the next row I'm going to be missing a stitch. Believe me, I did this, and by the time I was done I was missing a couple stitches, and it was because of that. It's because of the way that this stitch is worked. You have to work the stitch in the round, so you can easily insert your hook where you're not supposed to. So here for the second row, I'm going to chain 2 and turn. For the second row I have to do the row of double crochets. From here on we're always going to continue with the same number of stitches, 37 single crochets or 37 double crochets, not including the 2 chains. Now here to begin the second row, we chain 2 and then turn, and I'm going to insert my hook into the last single crochet that I did and make a double crochet through the back loop. Now here also, before we continue, make sure you put a stitch marker into the chain 2 space, because when we finish this row you're going to join to the side of the 2 chains so that we are not taking stitches away by joining to the double crochets. So continue all around for this second row, just making double crochets through the back loop of the single crochets. And at the end of the second row we're going to have 37 double crochets. I'll meet you here at the end. I'm here at the end of this second row. I'm going to remove this stitch marker. To finish this row, I'm going to go here to the side where I have the 2 chains and join with a slip stitch. For this second row, I have 37 double crochets. From here on, we're going to repeat these 2 rows, the row of single crochets and the row of double crochets. So here, to start you off on the 3rd row, we need to do the row of single crochets. So chain 1 and turn. Now beginning on top of the last double crochet here, right there, through the back loop, insert your hook and make a single crochet. Now before you continue, make sure that you put the stitch marker right into that chain, because when you finish this row, you're going to join to the chain right there, not to the single crochet, not to the first one, but rather to the side here where we have the chain. You're just going to do a slip stitch. So make sure that you do that, because you're going to be very disappointed once you get through a lot of rows and then you're missing a stitch. I did that. I was not sure what happened, and then I realized that when you work these rows in the round, you tend to lose a stitch. So that would be the easiest way to do. Just put a stitch marker, and that way you're not going to have any problems. And I would also count your stitches for every row from here on, just to double check. So for the 3rd row, you're just going to make single crochets through the back loop all around, and then you're going to finish that row, chain 2, turn, and then repeat the row of double crochets. Now here I placed a stitch marker. This is to mark the 1st row, and then we're going to count from here 22 rows. So continue and repeat these 2 rows, and I will meet you at the end of row 22 to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making 22 rows for the sleeve. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 rows. Now my last row here is the row of double crochets. So now what we're going to do is the cuff here. So to do this, what I did was I used a slightly smaller hook. I used a 4mm crochet hook. If you're using a smaller or bigger hook to make it smaller or bigger, then just go down half a hook size. So here with this 4mm hook, I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to chain 1. One thing, if you want to make your sleeve slightly longer and then just fold it at the end after we're done with the cuff, you can also do that. That way your baby can wear a bit longer. Here, to begin, we did 1 chain and we have the first double crochet. So don't turn or anything. We're not going to turn from here on. So into this first double crochet, work a front post half double crochet. Into the next, back post half double crochet, front post half double crochet into the next, back post half double crochet, and so on. This is how I'm going to continue all around. Now if you have a hard time making front post and back post stitches, then you can do single crochets all around. And so on. So continue like this all around. Once you finish this row, you're going to join here to the side with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then repeat the same thing and do exactly the same thing. A front post half double crochet, then back, front, back, and so on. We're going to do this for a total of 3 rows. So continue and finish this part, and then I'll come back and show you the finished sleeve. Okay, I went ahead and finished making the cuff. Here I did 3 rows, and when I finished here, I just joined to the beginning with a slip stitch, cut my yarn, and passed my yarn through the last loop, and this part here is done. So the sleeve is all done. You're going to do the exact same thing I did here for this sleeve. You're going to do it here on this other side. It's done exactly in the same way, so make sure to do that. So now the little sweater is all done, and here it is. This is what it looks like. I absolutely love this stitch. It's very easy, and it's got lots of texture, and it's nice and thick, perfect for the cold winter weather that's about to come. Okay, so now let me give you the finished measurements. So for the sleeve, from the top of the neckline down to the end of the sleeve, it's measuring about 34.5 centimeters, which is about 13.5 inches. From under the sleeve to the end of the sleeve, it's measuring about 21 centimeters, which is about 8.25 inches. Now the sleeve, this part here, from here to here, it's measuring about just the top 11.5 centimeters, which is about 4.5 inches. From the top of the neckline to the end here, it's measuring about 36 centimeters, which is about 14 inches. And right here, just the top of the chest area. It's measuring about 32 centimeters, which is about 12.5 inches. And this part right across the sleeve, this here, it's measuring about 16 centimeters, which is about 6.5 inches. So based on these measurements, this little cardigan sweater is for boys and girls between 1 and 2 years old. Now you can also make it smaller or bigger. I'd say from 9 to 12 months up to 10 years old. Down here in the information box, I'm going to leave some information on how you can make it smaller or bigger, so be sure to check that out. Now in another tutorial, I plan to do the same sweater, and I think I'm going to add a hood, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so this was today's tutorial. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.